Global News, Top 10 Impactful Stories Shaping Our World. Welcome back to Global News, your go-to source for the biggest updates from the USA and across the globe. Today, we are counting down the most impactful news stories you need to know right now. Before we jump in, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss a world update. Let's get started with number 10. Today, first news, social media linked to well-being decline in 2026 World Happiness Report. The World Happiness Report 2026 reveals a troubling drop in youth well-being, particularly among teenage girls in Western and English-speaking nations, citing heavy social media use as a primary driver. While Finland remains the world's happiest country for the 9th consecutive year, countries like the US and Canada have seen significant declines among those under 25. Researchers highlight that platforms featuring algorithmic feeds and influencers encourage damaging social comparisons. In contrast, Costa Rica surged to 4th place, credited to exceptionally strong family bonds and social stability. The report emphasizes that while wealth and welfare states support Nordic happiness, Latin American joy often stems from social capital. Meanwhile, conflict-affected nations like Afghanistan remain at the bottom of the rankings. Next news. Swiss lawmakers convene over Tibetan human rights concerns. Coinciding with the Swiss Federal Assembly's spring session, the Swiss Parliamentary Group for Tibet met in Geneva on March 16, 2026. Chaired by Fabien Molina, the meeting included MPs Linda de Ventura and Leonore Porcher, alongside representatives from the Central Tibetan Administration. Discussions focused on alleged human rights violations and the preservation of Tibetan culture under China's Ethnic Unity and Progress Law. The group also addressed transnational repression and the sensitive matter of the Dalai Lama's reincarnation. While informal, this cross-party group plays a vital role in elevating Tibetan religious and cultural concerns within the Swiss parliament. As the exile government advocates for autonomy, China maintains Tibet is an integral territory. The group will reconvene on June 1, 2026. Next news. Spain delays 2026 budget amid economic shock from Iran war. Spain will delay the presentation of its annual budget, Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez announced on Thursday, as the cabinet prepares emergency measures to counter the economic impact of the Iran war. These measures, set for a Friday announcement, aim to cushion the blow from rising fuel and electricity prices caused by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Gas prices have surged by over 60% since US and Israeli forces began operations on February 28. "We're working on the budget, but nobody predicted this war," Sánchez told reporters in Brussels. While Madrid initially committed to a March deadline, the government's lack of a parliamentary majority has hindered progress. Budget Minister Maria Jesus Montero remains confident that a new budget will be finalized before the deadline for EU recovery funds expires later this year. Next news. U.S. Transportation Secretary warns of potential small airport closures. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy issued a stark warning on Thursday, March 19, 2026, stating that small airports could be forced to shut down if the partial government shutdown persists. The crisis has left approximately 50,000 Transportation Security Administration (TSA) officers working without pay since the funding lapse began on February 13. Duffy highlighted that agents are set to miss another full paycheck on March 27, which is expected to exacerbate staffing shortages. The secretary noted that current long lines may be child's play compared to future disruptions. With call-out rates rising and over 300 officers already resigned, major airlines are urging congressional action to resolve the Department of Homeland Security stalemate and ensure continued aviation safety. Next news. UK vows defensive support following serious Iranian energy strikes. Defense Secretary John Healey announced on Thursday, March 19, 2026, that Britain will step up defensive support for Gulf states following a series of Iranian strikes on regional energy sites. Describing the overnight attacks as a serious escalation, Healey confirmed that Iranian forces targeted a Saudi refinery, Qatari gas facilities, and Kuwaiti refineries. The strikes, following an Israeli hit on an Iranian gas field, caused oil prices to spike to $119 per barrel, threatening global inflation. Prime Minister Keir Starmer chaired an emergency Cobra meeting and joined leaders from France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands and Japan in a joint statement condemning the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz. British forces are currently collaborating with US Central Command to formulate plans to reopen the critical trade route. Next news. North Korea acknowledges first dissenting votes in decades. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un secured a near-unanimous victory in the 15th Supreme People's Assembly elections, with the ruling Workers' Party claiming 99.93% of the vote. While the 99.99% turnout followed historical patterns, the The results gained international attention for the first open acknowledgement of dissent since 1957. State media reported that 0.07% of the electorate voted against the pre-approved candidates. Under North Korea's constitution, voters choose from a single state-vetted candidate per constituency. The 0.07% did not vote for an opposition party, as none existed on the ballot, but instead opted to reject the selected representative. Despite this rare admission of opposition, the ruling family maintains monolithic power, with 687 representatives elected to the assembly. Next news. China condemns Israeli assassinations of top Iranian officials. China issued a sharp rebuke on Thursday, March 19, 2026, labeling the targeted killing of senior Iranian officials as unacceptable. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian stated that Beijing opposes the use of force in international relations and specifically condemned the targeting of state leaders and civilian infrastructure. This follows confirmed Israeli strikes that killed Security Chief Ali Larijani, Basij leader Gholamreza Soleimani, and Intelligence Minister Esmail Khatib within a single week. The escalation comes amid a broader conflict that has already claimed the life of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu authorized the IDF to eliminate high-ranking Iranian officials without further approval, China's stance complicates diplomatic efforts. The tension may delay US President Trump's scheduled visit to Beijing, as Washington seeks Chinese assistance in securing the Strait of Hormuz while investigating allegations of Chinese technological support for Tehran. Next news. US intelligence chief and Pakistani diplomat clash over missile range. A sharp diplomatic exchange has erupted between US Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and former Pakistani Foreign Minister Jalil Abbas Gilani regarding the reach of Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. During a Senate hearing on March 19, 2026, Gabbard suggested that Pakistan's missile capabilities could potentially threaten the United States homeland. This assertion implies the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, a significant departure from established intelligence focusing on Pakistan's regional deterrence. Jalil Gilani swiftly rebuffed the claims, labeling them a mischaracterization of Pakistan's India-specific nuclear doctrine. He emphasized that the program is designed for credible minimum deterrence within South Asia, specifically to counter India's military superiority. Technical analysts support Gilani's stance, noting that Pakistan's longest-range missile, the Shaheen-3, reaches approximately 2,750 kilometers, well short of the 10,000 kilometers required to strike the continental US. This spat highlights a deepening trust deficit between Washington and Islamabad amid shifting global alliances. Next news. Nigeria warns against religion-based aid during historic UK visit. Nigerian Information Minister Mohammed Idris Malagi has cautioned that foreign aid tied to religious stipulations risks fanning the flames of division within the country. Speaking during Nigeria's first state visit to the UK in 37 years, Malagi addressed a recent $2.1 billion health compact with the US that specifically allocated funding for Christian healthcare facilities. He emphasized that such classifications are unhelpful for a nation of 230 million people split nearly equally between Muslims and Christians. While Nigeria accepted the deal out of pragmatism, Malagi stressed that the government aims to discourage Christians versus Muslims narratives, which he argued only serve the interests of terrorists. The minister highlighted that Nigeria is shifting its focus from traditional aid towards sustainable economic partnerships and trade. This transition comes as the country navigates challenges including climate change, food insecurity, and the aftermath of significant aid cuts from the West. Next news. Middle East energy infrastructure targeted amid escalating regional crisis. A series of aerial attacks has struck key oil facilities across the Gulf, with Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Defense confirming a drone crash at the Samrah refinery. This incident follows explosions near a Saudi Aramco facility in Riyadh, and the interception of a ballistic missile targeting the port of Yanbu. The instability is extended to Kuwait, where a drone strike ignited a fire at the Mina Al Ahmadi refinery, and Qatar, where a strike caused a massive blaze at Ras Laffan industrial city. In response, Arab and Islamic foreign ministers convened in Riyadh, demanding Iran comply with Security Council Resolution 2817. They called for an immediate cessation of provocative acts and support for regional militias to protect international maritime security.